Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/entitled people. In today's episode, they wanted me to give them my house. Entitled homeless woman want earrings and makeup. Entitled lady decided to cough on everything. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. They wanted me to give them my house. This was 5 years ago. I was 23 at the time, and I had a friend I'll call Jane. I had known Jane for a few years, but we weren't super close. She had a boyfriend and a young son, and they were being evicted from their house because they spent their government assistance money on pot, and neither of them could keep a job. Their house was also trashed. I had been living in a beautiful little townhouse in the same town for about a year. I was a single mom and I was receiving help from rental assistance. I worked 40 hours per week at a grueling metal manufacturing plant and was finally in a position to buy a home with my then boyfriend, now husband. My lease on the townhouse wouldn't be up for a few more months after buying the house. We were all hanging out in the townhouse when Jane said, "Well, the least you could do is let us live here since you have a house now." I told her that as much as I wish I could, I don't have the authority to let her just move in as it was heavily regulated. She threw a huge fit and threatened to call the rental assistance place and report me for not needing their assistance if I didn't let her stay in the empty townhouse. She thought for sure they'd fine me or something. This pissed me off. I told her very firmly that she could go ahead and let them know. The whole point of rental assistance, and assistance in general, is to bridge the gap until you can support yourself. She got all huffy and started trying to apologize once they realized she couldn't blackmail me. Then, she asked if she could live in my new house with me. I was like, did you miss the part where you just threatened me? So of course I said no, and she lost it. Called me greedy and selfish, saying it would be my fault if they ended up homeless. It did suck because I know I could have made their life easier in that moment, especially for the kid, but there's no way I could get past all of the disrespect. Edit to reiterate that this took place 5 years ago. I went NC after this and never gave them another minute of my time. Her problem started when she demanded and ordered instead of asking for help. Other than that, it's a legal liability having someone stay in your leased property. You'd be responsible for damages. They already trashed one house. An OP could be in breach of lease and financial assistance T&Cs. Yeah, you really wanted that kind of crazy moving on with you, uneasy face. And if she moved in with you, you would have had so much difficulty evicting her. People like that are chaos and drama you don't need in your life. They would destroy your home, never help or pay rent, and would have squatted in the townhouse and would have been evicted. And may have been some legal blowback on you from the landlord depending on your country's laws. They just see what other people have and expect you to hand it over to them, completely avoiding the part of how hard you worked to get it. While they sit in hoarder's filth, getting high as a kite. I had a friend do this to me. She got evicted from her apartment. She didn't work, she just stayed home all day doing coke with her druggy boyfriend. And asked if they could move in with me to get on their feet. I told her no and to look for a homeless shelter and government assistance. I was not about to have that tornado in my peaceful home. She flipped out on me, and that was the last we spoke. It was like a weight off my back. I heard from mutual friends, who also would not help them. They were on and off the streets homeless, and would guilt people into letting them stay, and like I predicted, would trash the place until they got kicked out. I heard they finally cleaned up their act last year and got an apartment. Sometimes letting a person fail and hit rock bottom is what they need to wake up and make changes. LOL, how is it your fault if she's homeless? The only thing other than herself she could blame her homelessness on is rampant capitalism and a toxic, out-of-control rental market, but I doubt you had anything to do with the making of those societal ills. I usually love to bring up how capitalism is destroying society, but in this case, I feel it has more to do with the fact that she's a lazy, pothead slob. And that's coming from someone who regularly smokes weed and stays home watching TV instead of going out because I don't want to put on pants. Entitled Homeless Woman Want Earrings and Makeup. I posted on social media about how I receive a quarterly benefit due to disability and said I want to buy menstrual supplies for homeless women. A woman on my friends list told me that's not good enough and I should supply makeup, earrings, and blankets because homeless people deserve more than the bare necessities. I feel providing pads, wipes, chocolate, and Germ-X is a lot for homeless people. As much as I'd like to supply things like that, it's not financially feasible. I can't believe that she's acting like I'm in the wrong for doing what I can. ETA because of repetitive questions. I posted because I was asking for advice on what to include. I don't want recognition or praise from my post, I wanted advice. If I wanted either of those things, I don't think a post asking for opinions on what to purchase would garner that attention. And the entitled homeless woman is the one who made the comment. It's awesome she's going to provide these non-essentials. Wait, no, she's doing sod all and just bitching you're not doing enough? I think it was deflection because the speaker wasn't doing anything, so she minimized what you're doing to make herself feel better. Ask her so I shoot get her a pair of earring to wear while she bleeds through the only pair of knickers and trousers she owns? That woman's mental. Here in Scotland we have free pads and tampons in all public buildings. Libraries keep them at the front door, you can just come get. But we're one of the only nations to do this. What you're doing is amazing, and using your disability payment makes it more amazing. Ignore the mental woman and keep being superwoman. Thank you so much. I knew she was out of pocket, it's just upsetting. Tell that person you are happy to include her donation in your drop-off. Entitled lady decided to cough on everything. I am a short female who works overnights at a gas station alone 3 to 5 nights of the week. I wear a mask because, to be blunt, people freaking stink. People stink of all kinds of things, and I'm oversensitive to scents. I've had homeless people come in and clearly haven't bathed. Or some older people who smell like a brewery buying more cases of booze. I do not judge, they can buy their booze and lotto all they'd like. They come in with at least a decent attitude and I'll return it, but thankfully I have an awesome manager who knows I can and will throw a bad attitude back in the customer's face when it calls for it. This night just so happened to be one such night. This was a couple weeks back at this point, and I'll admit I'm still ticked at the lady for doing this. It was about 2 a.m. when this skinny short lady comes in. I noticed she has hospital bands on. Not uncommon, as there's one a few blocks away, so this station is likely on her way home. I have a pang of sympathy for her. She's likely exhausted and probably emotionally drained, so I'm expecting to hear her vent and let it go in one ear and out the other, as I've done a few dozen times at this point. Well, no. She notices my mask and begins asking me about it rather accusingly. Why are you wearing a mask? You know those things don't work, right? I immediately decided to just stonewall her, and dropping the customer service voice I sternly said, why I wear it isn't of your concern, and go about the transaction, ignoring her remarks and a few insults. As I'm grabbing her cigarettes I hear her cough. Now again, she has hospital bands on, so I didn't think anything of it at first. Clearly she's at least semi-sensible and is coughing away from me, right? Nope. She continues to cough, and as I glance over while I'm bagging her items, she is coughing on the card reader and the displays on the counter. She leans to the lotto scanner and coughs more. I'm getting mad at this point but remain silent. It's not until she's leaning over the counter nearly into my face to cough on the register and me that a switch just flips. I grab the bottle of disinfectant and just start spraying. I sprayed the counter, the card reader, her purse, the outside of the bag with her items, and even her shirt. I was aware enough to know not to risk spraying her face, but she was still coughing on everything. She moved to the newspaper rack, the drink cooler, even the door, looking like a toddler marking territory. She ended it by grabbing a basket display of snacks and chocolate and flinging it across the floor, saying, "Have fun cleaning that up, witch. Just wait till I tell your manager. I'm her friend, you know." Now to admit I had been screaming at this woman to get the EFF out of my store the entire time I was spraying things in her. I was shaking mad and I yelled back, "Do it. Tell her. I'm telling her myself after this." Which I did actually. I texted my manager immediately after she left. I cleaned up the display and wiped down everything she coughed onto careful as I could. I had to take an anti-anxiety to kill the panic attack I had after the anger subsided. Jumping forward to the morning when my manager arrived, I was expecting her to at least be upset as I told her everything I've said above. I was certain I'd at least be written up. Instead, this woman hands me a coffee from Starbucks and goes she was lucky I wasn't in here and left it at that. Saw her days after and got the chance to point her out to other staff, so now everyone knows she made a bio attack, as we dubbed it on the store. Don't know if she's been back after that though, since she hasn't come overnight again. Does your store have cameras? If so, try to get a picture off of it and print it with a note underneath saying that she gets nothing other than to tell her that she has to leave, and if she does not, you will call the police to have her trespassed. We do have cameras, but I don't have the right permissions to mess with them or print screen caps from the feed. I also realized well after she was gone I should have just called the cops, or if I'd been brave enough to smack the emergency button to get them there faster. The coworker I pointed her out to told her to leave and that we were refusing her service. Haven't heard of her being back since, thankfully. Your boss brought you a coffee after her friend coughed on you. That's hilarious. That entitled idiot should be banned. For all we know, she could be COVID positive. Part 1 left out was the reason I was cleaning so much was another coworker had recently actually tested positive for COVID. So for a week we had to deep clean things. Thankfully everyone else, myself included, got negatives. But yeah, she was banned according to my manager, extremely thankful for that. Apparently they aren't such great friends as she tried to make out. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.